Again, we've heard about a lot of technologies, but one that New Jersey has been heavily investing in is wind. So I don't think we can have an energy conference without having a panel talking about advances in wind and where we are now. Erick's here. Where'd Erick go? Oh, there's Erick. So I will quickly introduce the panelists. Hopefully I'll get this right. Nathalie Jouanneau, was it close enough?
That's close.
Close enough. Nathalie joined the Atlantic Shores joint venture in 2018, immediately upon its formation between Shell New Energies and EDF Renewables. She now leads the strategy and portfolio management for the joint venture, acting as chief of staff for the management team and managing strategic procurements. We also have Davon McCurry, Deputy Head of Government Affairs and Market Strategy for New Jersey Ørsted North America. Devin is the Deputy Head of Government Affairs and Market Strategy for New Jersey at Ørsted. And I know, of course, Davin from his role as working on government affairs for the New Jersey DEP. And also joining us as moderators, Erick Ford, the President of the New Jersey Energy Coalition. Erick, well, we all know that the New Jersey Energy Coalition is a member-based organization focused on the whole energy and utility sector. Erick's background is coming from BPU, former chief of staff for former President Moroz, we just heard from. So Erick, the panel is all yours.
Thank you, and thanks for the invite to do this panel today. By the way, it's the third Friday in a row doing panels. I'm up for next week. If anybody needs a moderator, let me know. But anyway, Erick Ford.
He comes cheap, by the way.
I do. As long as you get me out of the house, it's fine. I'm Erick Ford, President of the New Jersey Energy Coalition. It's great to be here. We have two great panelists. We're going to talk about wind, which New Jersey is the leader in the country for. Just as we heard from Senator Zwicker earlier today, New Jersey's been leading in, obviously, the energy sector for decades and decades. We'll give the two panelists a moment to introduce themselves. Nathalie, we can start with you if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, so Nathalie is this working? Yeah. Nathalie Jouanneau, just helping with the pronunciation. Nice to meet you all. Really happy to be here this afternoon. I'm the JV Strategy and Portfolio Manager for Atlantic Shores Offshore Wind, which is a 50-50 joint venture between EDF Renewables and Shell New Energies. And we've been in the offshore wind sector, specifically in the US, for the past 3.5 years, and our parent companies have been in it for decades elsewhere. So we are currently holding a up to 5 gigawatt, possibly more gigawatt portfolio with leases of the coast of New Jersey and in the bight between New Jersey and New York. And we are currently developing one project that the New Jersey BPU has selected in 2021, a 1.5 gigawatt project. So looking forward to the panel and to your questions.
Davon?
All right. So, good afternoon. Congratulations for staying this far in the event and listening to us talk about wind. So Davon McCurry with Ørsted. For those of you who might not be familiar with our company, we are a global energy company. And if you would look at the financial results of the company, you'll see that the majority of our earnings are coming from the clean energy businesses that we have, but that hasn't always been the case. We used to be Danish oil and natural gas, but about a decade ago, the company made the strategic decision to move into clean energy from being one of the, quite frankly, most coal and oil intensive utilities in Europe. And so across the globe, particularly in the Americas, Europe, and the APAC region, we're deploying offshore wind, onshore wind, solar, bioenergy. Really excited, although I focus on offshore wind, about our Power to X business, deploying green hydrogen, and I underline green hydrogen in e-fuels, which we really think is going to be important in those hard to abate sectors like shipping and aviation. But here in New Jersey, we're working pretty hard to deliver our two projects, Ocean Wind 1 and Ocean Wind 2. We're doing Ocean Wind 1 in a joint venture with PSEG, and those projects together are going to be able to produce enough power estimated for over 1 million homes, right? We're talking about over $2 billion, or around $2 billion in in-state investment from the two projects, hundreds of jobs, including those for our brothers and sisters in the building trades. So happy to be here.
Well, thank you for that. And so we'll just dive right into the questions for respective time. The first question I have is a simple one, really. It's around the recent announcement of 11,000 megawatts, governor's announcement, and it seems like every couple of years or something, New Jersey, New York seem to be trying to up the ante of who's got the highest megawatts for offshore wind. But what are your thoughts on the governor's recent announcement, and how are your companies reacting to that, and what are your thoughts behind it? We'll start with you, Nathalie.
Yeah. So it's exciting, obviously. We actually clapped for it. We were in we actually learned it from Jim Ferris at the New Jersey BPU live, basically. So that was really a great news. I mean, for us, we've always been very invested in New Jersey since the beginning. I mean, our original lease area is really close to the coast, to Atlantic City, and our project is really our first project is going to deliver to New Jersey. So all it did for us is create even more excitement, create even more focus, we've already been investing for the past 3 years a lot. Our first project has made an $848 million commitment for local content in New Jersey. We expect that we'll do more with additional gigawatts promised by the state. I think for us, it doesn't only mean that we have more opportunity. It means that supply chain does as well. When you see a state commit like that for longer term with more gigawatts, it really means it's a long-term partnership. It really means that the investment they want to make are for the long term, and so it gives confidence to both us as developers and the major suppliers, turbine manufacturers, foundation manufacturers, cable manufacturers, that this is a state to invest in. So that's really what you need to, you need certainty, you need long-term view, you need a promise of offtakes from the state, and that's just deepened our excitement to see that in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So for those of you who might not be as close to offshore wind as we are, but the states really create the demand for offshore wind. They are the customers. So when they decide that they want to increase their goal by, 50% from 7,500 to 11,000, it's pretty significant. And so applaud the governor and his team for that step forward. A couple of observations. So to the supply chain point, we want to make sure that we actually have this homegrown American supply chain that will be able to supply for that amount of capacity. So we're making some steps, but I think we need to move quicker in making sure we have the ability, right, to have homegrown towers and monopiles and turbines and things of that sort built here in the United States. The other thing is, with that amount of power being injected back, from the ocean into our grid, we really need to have a reliable and a resilient grid that we can depend on, that doesn't involve just plugging these individual extension cords back to the ocean, but really hopefully an interconnected grid that truly is reliable and resilient both offshore and onshore.
Well, thanks for that. And it sounds like we're kind of talking about supply chain in a way now, obviously. And given New Jersey's strategic location in the United States, particularly on the East Coast, but also what we're seeing happening in Europe, where manufacturers are thinking about where can they go to relocate, given the price of energy and obviously the war there too in Europe. How are we looking at that, or how are you guys looking at that for New Jersey about bringing that in, and also including minority, women-owned, and veteran-owned businesses to be a part of that supply chain, and also the construction side of it, right? Because that's a part of it too. So we'll start with you, Davon.
Sure. So, in the state creating these markets, the states get to decide what they want to prioritize. And in the case of New Jersey, they've decided that they want to prioritize a number of things, including ports and people, right, and procurement. And so to that end, as our company before I arrived developed the bid to go into the state, right, we made a number of commitments, including to deliver a monopile factory in Paulsboro, New Jersey, right, where we're talking about ultimately 500 jobs in the port of Paulsboro, helping to bring American manufacturing to the United States or back to the United States. We're working with the New Jersey EDA as their first tenant to do marshaling down at the nuclear plant in Salem County, and looking to bring other supply chain opportunities there. On the point around diversity, one of the ways I think about this is the communities that have been on the front lines of injustice, right, from the pollution that we've all collectively contributed to. But some of us, if we just would be honest with ourselves, have borne way more than their fair share of the brunt there. I think those same communities need to be at the front of the line for all of these benefits. And so I think that's a helpful way to think about this. And so, I think that, and we've started to do this, we have to make sure when we make these very large procurements that we've got some diversity targets. We're not all the way there at all, but we've done it for at least a couple of our scopes here in New Jersey. We've got a pro-New Jersey grantor trust that we have for both Ocean Wind 1, and there will be additional funds for Ocean Wind 2. But for Ocean Wind 1, with our partner PSEG, that's a fund for folks who are interested in perhaps retooling their business so they can get into the offshore wind space. They can apply for kind of a grant to get into the space. And then on the labor side, with our National Offshore Wind Agreement, we've got some goals to make sure that we're including people of color and women and environmental justice communities as we're thinking about building out this workforce. So those are some of the things.
Natalie.
Yeah, so I think, nothing to add on the supply chain aspect. I think, just to connect to the first question, indeed, these kind of offtakes, this kind of goals from the state, they push us as developer to propose the best bids into state RFPs, and that comes with what Ocean Wind 1, Ocean Wind 2 have done with EW. That comes with what we've done as well, second tenant at the New Jersey Wind Port, and also with our recently announced turbine supplier for Project One, Vestas, a plan to locate a nacelle facility at the New Jersey Wind Port. And I think we have to rely on these manufacturers as we bring them as developers into New Jersey, and we have to push them to go down the supply chain, tier 2, tier 3, and to in these space to really seek minority and women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. So that's what we at Atlantic Shores do. We include that in our contracts with the suppliers. We also do that at the development level. So that's less big money, of course, than execution and turbine contracts, for example. But just in the development phase of a project, which is close to 5 years, you can do a lot with this type of businesses, on development, on partnerships. You can do surveys. You can do a lot, and that really goes to the entire ecosystem in New Jersey. But on top of the supply chain, I think one of the things that we've noticed is that the first thing to do is to really foster access and visibility of the offshore wind industry to these businesses. So we really work very closely to the chambers of commerce. So we have the African American Chamber of Commerce, the State Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Southern New Jersey, Women in Construction. So those are really partners that we work very closely to foster this access, because we can go seek them if they also don't know about the industry. That's the connection is not going to happen. And I think one of the other things that we see is that the certification to get these to be classified as a minority women-owned businesses, it needs to be supported as well by the states. It needs to be clarified, and so we're working on that as well, doing our best. But it's not a solo exercise. We really need the state to dive in that and the entire industry.
Thank you. My next question has to do around investment, because we're a business and industry association conference and got to talk a little bit about business, right? Thinking about investing, you're giving your companies, and clearly there's a lot going on in the space. From your perspectives, what could it take for your companies to keep investing in New Jersey and investing into the future, given that, how do we ensure that the companies here in New Jersey benefit from the investments? But also, again, what do you guys see as a necessary thing to keep investing in New Jersey? Anything that needs to be changed, or any thoughts on that? And Davon, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Do you want to start, Natalie? I think it kicks back to you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I think we have complementary points. I was just going to make a joke that we could ask for 22 gigawatts that would invest even more, but 11 is good. No, I think the first few things that we want is, and we've gotten more of that with the recent announcement by Governor Murphy, is certainty on the long term. So knowing that you'll have several rounds of offtakes where you can put in bids helps us invest more, helps us convince major suppliers that are generally based in Asia or in Europe to actually come to New Jersey. They know that they will invest in major facilities for decades, and sometimes they can also get financial support from the state. So we see that with the New Jersey Wind Port, that's a state-funded opportunity, and just buying into the competition as well. The neighbor state to the north is also investing like that. There's a $500 million program for offshore wind industry financing in New York, and that certainly attracts manufacturers. So I think when we get that from New Jersey, you know, these investments, these long-term plans, knowing that every 2 years you'll have an offtake, that's cadenced, that's one of the main things to keep investing. And I think I cannot help but also think about the current macroeconomic environment with inflation, commodities just jumping around. And I think having a state partner, and we do have that with New Jersey, we see it, that understands this and the impact that it could have on the project we propose and the price of energy that we can propose and the impact to the ratepayer, and having a fair approach to it. So typically that's what New Jersey is thinking about for the third solicitation that's going to come out in Q1, end of the year, or Q1 next year, with adjustments to take into account inflation, take into account commodities, and sharing that risk between developer and ratepayer. That's the kind of things we want to see, right? The fairest the market and the more realistic the partner, the best for us as well.
That's great. I think just to zero in more or contribute to the piece about the macroeconomics, look, they're real, and it's probably real across multiple of your industries, if not all of them. And so when we're thinking about inflation and the supply chain constraints and the price overruns, we need as many tailwinds as possible. Like if you think about offshore wind as a plane trying to get off of the runway, there are so many headwinds that are coming against us. We need that as much uplift as we can have as possible in the wings to get off of the runway. And some of those things like inflation and supply chain constraints are moving us, I think, in the wrong direction. So, as much as the state can do to kind of acknowledge the realities of the macroeconomic challenges and help the industry to continue making that private investment we need to get this industry spurred, I think the better.
Okay. Well, adding on to that, thinking about the mechanisms that are out there right now that you're able to utilize in New Jersey, could we or should we start taking a look at, do we need to change any or maybe add something to it to help deal with inflation? I mean, you don't have to answer if you don't want. Just a thought, question. We can put it out there like that if you want.
If inflation definitely needs to be considered. I'm not going to make any broad pronouncements here on the stage, but
yeah.
We definitely need to be considering these macroeconomic challenges.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for full transparency, the New Jersey BPU issued an RFI to start looking into their third solicitation and engage the developers, and they have come up with the idea of an inflation adjustment to the price we propose. I mean, these projects are developed over 10 years, so obviously a lot can happen by the time you reach commercial operation, and that's something that we've seen in different markets and different offtakes and structures. I mean, New York is also proposing it. Other states are proposing it. And we see that also in other markets in the U.S. So I think it was good to see New Jersey open to that and following that trend as well.
Okay, I do have one more question, and after that we'll kick it out to see if there's anybody in the audience that wants to ask a question. So thinking about these projects, should we be thinking in generational terms for investment in these projects? And I mean, I have a child, she's 10 months old. Obviously, 20 years from now, she'll be benefiting from this, and so on and so on. So should we be thinking about generational investment when it comes to projects like this, like how we can see it being used for the next couple generations? Thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, it does no good, or it does limited good, right? When I talk about the monopile factory in Paulsboro, like if we just built that factory and it's going to, supply one or two projects, we don't want to just see that. We need to build a sustainable industry, right, that can, go on for generations and generations. So absolutely, when we think about revitalizing the economy and other considerations of why offshore wind is important, we've got to think about it in generational terms.
I think I'm going to tackle this on the topic of emergency. So I see it as it's generational, it's long-term, but it's also needed now. It's not just like you could push this investment in 10 years and deal with other things now. And I see two reasons for that. Whether or not we're sensitive about it, there's climate change, and climate change, we're actually late, and we need to move on now. So all of this industry supports renewable energy and clean electricity and clean air and fight against climate change. And I think the other one for the competitive people in us is if New Jersey doesn't do it now, other states will seize the opportunity. So it's really, and New York already does it, Virginia already does it. It's really important that we win that race, basically.
Well, thank you. At this time, I'll see if anybody in the audience has a question or a comment. No? None? Okay. Ray, do you have a question, thought?
Somebody in the back.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. All the way in the back. Sorry about that. Camera was in the way.
Microphone. Anybody have the microphone?
I heard you make the comment about we have to help the underserved communities first in all these programs. Thank you. Yeah, so I heard you make the one comment about how we have to help the underserved communities in these programs and putting some of the systems which have clean energy in those areas where there is a lot of pollution in urban areas. But what about for vendor sourcing, like where these pieces of equipment are manufactured in inner city areas, places in like Newark, New Jersey, with a lot of poverty and crime, and bringing opportunities to those places and supporting manufacturers in places like Newark?
Yeah, great. So, thank you. Just to clarify, I definitely made the point about investing, those folks being first in line. That's my personal opinion when we're talking about investment. But I don't think I said the part about locating things within certain communities. But yeah, I think we need to help revitalize communities and help, as Nathalie was talking about, encouraging our suppliers, when they go down tier 2, tier 3, making sure there are opportunities for New Jersey businesses. Some of the exciting things that we're looking at actually in the city of Newark, we're looking to invest in an electric truck initiative with our partner Zeem Solutions. We know, or I know, some of us know the strong impact that the transportation sector has from a carbon emissions perspective. So we're investing $11 million in that initiative for electric truck and their drayage, large drayage Class 8 trucks that we're investing in. And then also just on the topic of Newark, just yesterday we did our official ribbon cutting on our kind of our IT North American headquarters in the city of Newark. Our staff, we brought them in some weeks ago, but we celebrated yesterday. It was just really exciting to see all the opportunities that are in Newark. And when we think about giving people opportunities that hopefully can change them for generations, help their families move into new economic bands, we've got to be doing those things.
And maybe just to add to this as well, like obviously when you want to fabricate, nacelles or blades, you have to have a very specific site. So the New Jersey Wind Port is well located for that. But I think that's why I was also insisting on the fact that working for the offshore wind industry, it's a whole ecosystem. It's not just building components. Of course, components are where the big money is, but there's a lot of services where, like any industry, we need accountants, we need environmental studies, we need constructability studies. So all of this, we do actually have a map of all the suppliers that we've already involved in, actually now $8 million of local content over the past 3 years, and they are spread spread all over New Jersey, including in the New York area. And I think it's interesting to look at it from the global perspective, not just for fabrication, but also for all the services that are needed.
Well, thank you for that. I think we're pretty much up on our time. Let's give the panelists a round of applause. Thank you for doing this. Ray, hand it back to you.